With schools and instruction dramatically shifting in the wake of the ongoing pandemic, SATs are being put on the back burner at many colleges and universities. One of these schools is the University of Massachusetts, which will be SAT optional for the next few years. Carolee McGrath spoke with Jim Roche, the Vice Provost for Enrollment Management at UMass, to learn more.
We actually started looking at this in May. We were tracking to see the progress or lack thereof of the effect of the pandemic on students' abilities to go take the test. And we, like a lot of schools, had hoped that by August or September, the world would be in a position where it would be safe and there'd be easy access for students to go take the test. As we kept an eye on it through the summer, we realized that wasn't likely to happen. And so we did our research. We looked to see if we thought we could come up with an equitable way to have the students not take the test and still have enough information that we can make an intelligent decision about their acceptance or not. And our end result is we do believe that we can do that. And so we chose to go test optional so students don't have to worry about one more thing as they get back to school here in a few weeks.
And how long will it be test optional for which classes?
We have actually decided that we're going to go 3 years. And part of the reason for that is because as we worked with the state, as a state university, we certainly contacted the state and talked to them about, got their feedback on what their expectation was. And they said that when they have done this with other schools, they asked them to go 3 years. We're fine with that. As a research university, we love to do research. And, I think it's important for us to take advantage of this opportunity to determine whether or not this is something we want to stay with down the road or go back to where we were in previous years.
In the absence of COVID-19, how important were the SATs or ACTs when considering different students?
So our approach, I tend to talk about the quantitative assessment, which is predominantly your GPA, your transcripts, and your test scores, and then the qualitative assessment. We have done a holistic review of the application for many years now. So, the balance between GPA and test scores was just about even. We plugged them into a formula because our research and other research that people have done has shown that, yes, individually, the GPA is a better predictor of student success, certainly in their first or second year of college. But collectively, test scores and GPA tell you a little bit more and give you a little bit broader look at the student from a quantitative standpoint. So we are comfortable not having the test scores, not having them as a requirement, because we also find that there's a very strong correlation between GPA and test scores. And what I mean by that is the higher your GPA, typically the higher your test score. Well, that's not true in every case. With the kind of numbers we work with, we get 40,000 applicants. We make about 25,000 offers in any given year. Having a few outliers here or there is not a problem, but seeing those patterns and trends and tendencies with the statistics to have that relationship, and having taken an even closer look at that in the last couple of months, we're pretty confident that we can handle this with just the GPA, and we're curious to see, as I said before, how this works down the road, and we'll know that in a couple of years.
And what will this mean for students as they apply? Obviously, really focus on that GPA. I mean, now though, in the midst of this pandemic, it's not like you can say, what are your extracurricular activities? I mean, schools are really trying to figure out whether they're going back or not as far as K through 12. How do you, produce strong candidates in the midst of all of this?
Very good question. And some of these questions I'm not going to have the perfect answer to. I wish I did, but I don't know many people who do right now. I think the good news is that many of the high schools have had the time over the summer to adjust to a different style of teaching. Remotely, split, you go 1 week, you don't go 1 week. But I've heard so many different stories about what schools are going to do that we're as intrigued as anybody to find out what kind of effect this might have on the classroom experience. With that said, I think we will see that for the most part, there is a consistency, not only within each school, but from school to school. And I think we'll find some common ground, and we'll have the opportunity to have a very good evaluation based primarily on GPA and test score. You mentioned activities, in the holistic process, that certainly is something else that we look at. I don't think that carries quite as much weight as the quantitative factors. Some of the things that do carry some weight and might be affected by this is we have students, for example, who carry a full load in high school and they work 20 hours a week. Some of them from, single parent families where they are actually helping to support the family financially. That's one of those things that when we're aware of this, we look at, because we often find that these kids have other factors that make them very strong candidates. They're disciplined, they have good time management skills, they're resilient, and maybe their GPA isn't as strong as it might be for somebody who has the luxury of spending most of their days studying. But we find that because of these other factors, these students end up being very good once they get here. So, those are some of the holistic elements that we look at and will continue to look at. And yep, they might take on a little bit higher significance now than they would have in previous years.
And I think some kids might be looking at this with a little bit of relief, saying, oh, I'm not great at taking a test. Is it going to be a little bit easier, knowing that a lot of kids might be taking a gap year or two in the midst of this, perhaps to get into Eisenberg or to the nursing school?
I'm reluctant to say easier without.
Less competitive is maybe the better word for it.
Yeah. For some kids it will. You're right. We have some students who are very good in the classroom. They have, high grades. And, maybe they didn't test well. Maybe they didn't have the opportunity to take the test more than once. And, we, like almost every school in the country these days, super score with the test, which means if you take it twice, we take the best components of each of those tests. Well, there again, there are students who are automatically at a disadvantage because they can't afford to take the test more than once. And, their first test scores are their final test scores. So I think this takes some of the weight and some of the pressure off of that. And relying heavily on the GPA, knowing about other factors that we've asked students to tell us about in the application process. I think we're going to find that I like to use the word balance. I think we may bring more balance now to some of those students we talked about who did well in high school, didn't test well. I would say that they probably have increased the opportunity to be accepted into a school like Eisenberg or nursing or engineering or computer science a little bit more now with the reliance that we have on the GPA.